a homegrown, pure thoroughbred carp that has grown, should we call it naturally, in a wild lake in England. It's absolutely special. I love wrong'uns and I love fishing for imports and winding Chile up and Chile sending a letter going, who's this guy? Really getting wound up.
Guys, a big warm welcome back to the All-Ways Carp Fishing Podcast. In the studio, I am joined by Lewis Porter, Harry Charrington, and once again, we are sitting down with the legend that is Simon Crowe. We get into Crowy's angling journey, what keeps the fire burning for those big carp hunts, and Lewis Porter wearing makeup. All will be revealed. Enjoy.
I'm a keep it realer. I love the big Italian.
Send them all back.
Yeah. That is an impression of Chili, but that's just an impression of any of the keep it real. Yeah,
Mine's
the keep
Chili
it real.
impression.
Yeah, yours is mine. Keep it real. I keep it wrong now. KIW. KIW.
Tell the story that was going on. What was going back into with him at Carp Talk that you just told me outside
years ago. In the early days of Carp Talk, when it was all kicking off to do with wrong'uns and imported fish and stuff like that, Chili was really outspoken about stuff, and I'd loved him to be here today to talk about it because the two of us would just laugh about it, and we used to wind him up. So we set up this imaginary person, and he was called Pete Van Anderberg. PVA, Pete Van Anderberg, PVA bag. That was basically it. And we used to send in letters to the letters page at Carp Talk. You know, you could send a letter and it'd get published.
Yeah.
And we used to put this one in from Pete Van Anderberg. You can go back and look at them, and it was all about, I love wrong'uns and I love fishing for imports and winding Chile up and Chile sending a letter going, who's this guy? And really getting wound up. And we got him to the stage, it was me and Paddy doing it, me and Paddy Webb. And we got him to the stage where he was ready to throttle somebody. You know, the fuse was about to go. And Borley, because Borley's typical Borley, went and told him who it was. It was Crowy and Paddy, writing Pete Van Anderberg. So then we started getting letters in from this guy called Colonel Titchlack, which is basically a counter argument to ours. And as we later found out, Colonel Titchlack was Chilcot backwards, and it was chilling. So it was just banter, you know. Good days of talking about wrong'uns with Chill. So that's what I love about him. Yeah. You know, he's changed, completely changed now. I know he has, but the early days of that was. It was fun.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I don't have a problem with that argument as long as the argument was about preventing diseases coming into the country, not about this fish is better than your fish. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, be anti the import side of things if it's not legalised and it's been done, you know, black market, stealing fish from public waters or whatever. I was always fine with that side of it. But my fish is better than your fish because mine was English when it wasn't actually English, but... You don't, you know, you want to claim.
I think everybody who was into carp fishing back in them days saw the argument to do with viruses and importation problems and nicking fish and things like that. It was a wrong thing to do. But how far do you go when it comes to boycotting things when you're working in the trade? Yeah. You know, do you stop selling end tackle to guys that fish at those lakes? Do you stop selling bait to people that are fishing on those waters? If you're involved in the trade, you've just got to go, right. You know, a fish is a fish.
It's just each their own, isn't it?
Yeah. When we're getting catch reports from a young 15-year-old kid and he's gone and caught the Salagoo Common from Darenth and he's put in his catch report, I am so blown away by catching this fish. And then you can't turn around and destroy that kid's dreams by saying, son, that don't count. No. It's the wrong way. If you're working in the trade...
It does. You know, it always amazes me with the fish I've got in my lake. If I show somebody a picture, the first question normally is, what is it? As in, like, where's it? Like, what fish farm or what? Like, it's a carp.
Yeah. So I never even think that. I just look at the fish and go, "Wow, I want to catch that."
Yeah, but to be fair, most of the people that I would show the pictures are other fishery owners or whatever, because it's not. I don't publicise anything from there. So if I show them, normally it would be another fishery owner who's probably interested to know what fish strain farm it's come from or what strain. But yeah, it's amazing. But a lot of people have that first thing of, "What is it? It's a carp."
Yeah, and that's and
you've got an extra head. It's just
that's it. And you ask the question when you, or people ask the question when you join a lake. Oh, what are they? Yeah, the carp.
Yeah, they got fins and everything.
I understand what people mean. You know, some fish have got more cred than others. If you're really immersed in carp fishing, they have. To me, you know, we were talking about it before off camera. What's a better carp? It's what you think's a better carp. It's different to what Lou thinks, to what Dean thinks, to what I think. You know, it's all subjective. For me, a homegrown, pure thoroughbred carp that has grown, should we call it naturally, in a wild lake in England. It's absolutely special. It is special, you know. And of course, there's carp that I fish for that are wrong uns. There's carp that I fish for with bait boats. What does count? What doesn't count? It's something that you've just got to accept nowadays. We've all got difference of opinions. If you work in the trade, it's like I go on about these guys going about bait boats, you know, who work in the trade. Keep your mouth shut. You know, if you're selling bait to people who are using bait boats, then you're making money indirectly off the back of them.
Yeah.
So just stay away from that argument and just enjoy fishing.
Just be inclusive. I think that's the best way, isn't it? Just
Well, that's it. If you like fish the way that you want to fish on the venues you want to fish, and hope that other people do the same.
Yeah.
And if you can enjoy it, then let other people enjoy it as well.
That's what it's all about, enjoying it.
Live and let
It
live.
is. It is. So speaking of catching fish, and I've noticed you've been nominated for Carp Angler of the Year in SIP, which is the new sort of rollout they're doing. How do you feel about that? What's your take on it?
It don't really mean a great deal to me, but it's nice.
Yeah, it must be flattering in a way.
It's flattering, isn't it, to be nominated for something, but I don't think I should win it. No, I don't think. I've certainly not had what I would class as an outstanding year. You know, this year I've done all right. I've had a few nice fish, and I feel really honoured that they've mentioned me. But when you look at the list of lads that they've got in there, there's one standout winner to me.
Yeah,
and that's Logan.
Yeah,
you know, he caught the Waterside Common. I'm a very traditional, I suppose, compared to a lot of the newcomer carp anglers nowadays. Is that Carp Angler of the Year should be about somebody who's caught the biggest carp, you know, the specimen carp, because that's what carp fishing's about. You know, the roots of carp fishing was born through specimen angling, catching big fish. And I was quite outspoken last year about the Angling Times one, that Martin Clark didn't win it. He should have won it. 2 60-pound carp in England, homegrown carp, regardless of what you say about it.
Was he nominated?
Yeah,
he was nominated, but he didn't win the vote.
He's
Yeah, because he's not well known enough.
Fish over 60, then he caught the big fully scaled over 60 from Manor.
Yeah.
And it's the first angler in history to ever do that in England, to catch 2 different 60-pounders in the same season. That's outstanding. That is so outstanding.
Yeah.
It's beyond, you know, and that's nothing against the girl that won it, because she's had a fantastic season as well. But the kind of season that she had in the years of Carp Talk, we had guys do that in a week. You know, overseas fishing, catching 70-pounders from different lakes. It's been done many times before, whereas Clark it's never been done. You try and catch 1 60-pound carp from England, you know, and he's gone and caught 2 in a season. It's amazing. So
it's worth noting this is being recorded 2 days before the winners are announced of the Sipography one.
Yeah.
So it's either congratulations, Crowy, or commiserations, because the result will be.
If I get it, I'm going to give it to Logan, because Logan is a 63-pound common in winter.
January.
Just before the lake had frozen or something like that, and then he's going to caught a 57 as well from Cotswold.
Yeah.
So
he would get my vote.
Amazing season. Yeah. But 2 big fish like that.
I guess the thing is I think, like, it's partly the reason that Sipography started one, because the Angling Times one, they didn't recognise some of these guys.
I think it is the reason, weren't it? I think the reading between the lines, they saw who was nominated on the Angling Times one and thought, this is not recognising some of the best achievements in big carp. I say big carp fishing.
But my other issue with, I guess, any of it is that it's a vote. It's still a vote.
Yeah.
So does it still just become a popularity contest? And because Logan is not a well-known angler,
doesn't have a big social media.
There are well-known anglers on there who have clearly not had as good a season as that. Do they end up higher up the thing, but just because people know them?
I think Elliot's done it in a better way, though, because he's kind of eliminated the popularity vote in the final vote, and that is that the people that will be voting for the top 3, because basically the public will vote for the top 3, and then of the top 3, the nominations, the guys like myself or whoever, they then get to vote.
I didn't know that.
They then get to vote.
That's a really good way
So
to do it.
you've actually got guys who are immersed in carp fishing, who know a little bit about what traditional carp fishing is about, and they can say, well, hang on a minute, he's had a brilliant season.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Because like in football sense, like that, the player's player vote is always like the one that footballers, like that's what they want. They want their peers to
to recognise
them, not just if it was down to the fans, then if you play for Man United and Man United's got the biggest fan base, you're going to win the player of the year. So it should be. It shouldn't be a popularity contest. It should be peers of a panel of elected people or whatever that
have some knowledge about the topic. You know, and that's why Elliot started doing it to eliminate that. So,
fair play. I like that.
You know, and I think the nominations that he's put forwards for it this year, some of those guys are really quite low profile. Dean Fletcher. He's had an outstanding year. You look at the list of fish that he's caught this year. Some of the other guys that's been nominated, Robbie Bryars, you know, there's loads of lads that's had great fish, but because they haven't got the media platform to put their catches out there, people don't know about it. And I think that's probably the reason why Angling Times haven't put them in their list, is because when you look at their list every year, it don't really bother me so much because I'm no longer involved in that side of it. When I was at Carp Talk, we did do the Carp Angler of the Year, and I used to enjoy doing it. I used to enjoy being involved with the selection process for it because I was immersed in fishing, so I could take a look at people's seasons and look at it in a subjective way, along with other guys that was doing exactly the same. And with Angling Times, you see their Carp Angler of the Year, and I'm not trying to knock it, I'm just trying to see it from a pure carp fishing passion point of view. They tend to, it looks like they don't put much effort into researching the nominations that they put forwards. It is difficult nowadays to defend them. It is difficult nowadays to find out what's going on in the carp fishing grapevine.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of,
unless you're friends with somebody in your Facebook feed or your social media feed, or you've liked their page, then you don't always see it because of the algorithm. So
it's a lack of expertise in that office, I think, in terms of that field of
knowing what carp fishing is.
That's the thing. I guess you need. I guess to do it, you need to have your ear to the ground for the whole year and be really paying attention.
Well, even myself, who I feel as though I am immersed in carp fishing, I didn't know about some of the guys that's in the topography list. So I'm sticking up for Angling Times there. It is very difficult to do it. It is. You always miss somebody. And I remember a couple of 3 years ago, one of my mates caught 50-pounders in England from 3 different lakes, which was an amazing season's fishing. And he got completely, forgotten about. Nobody knew about it until I put a feature in Carp Fisher about it. So unless you know about it, it is hard. So it is hard for Angling Times, but I do see some of their selections. There seem to be the same people every year. It's like they're keeping an eye on what they're doing. And I've got my own views on it. You've got your own views on it. So's Lewis, so's Dean. Everybody's got a subjective view on what is Carp Angler of the Year. You won it yourself a few years ago.
Yeah, well, that's
match
like
fishing.
I do.
Brilliant season you had.
I think my slight fear of it is that with the Sipography one, someone who, if they had a season like I had when I won the Angling Times one, I don't think they would get a look in. And the thing is like you say, my vision of carp fishing is different to yours, and I think carp fishing can incorporate a lot more than just catching big carp. But to be fair, that was probably the only time that someone's actually won it not catching any big uns, just catching loads of.
But that's a year, though, isn't it? Mate.
Yeah, but that's my only thing with it, is that I don't know whether if somebody had a similar season to that, they'd get recognised. But then, only Elliot would kind of know that. And I mean, he himself has done a little bit of match fishing in his youth with the BYCAC. So maybe he would. I don't know.
Carp fishing has changed. Everything evolves. Everything changes. But when you're looking at Carp Angler of the Year, I think if you look at the roots, you don't change. Football's evolved, football's changed and stuff like that, but they still look at who's had the best season this year. And it's, what is the best season? I put something up on one of my vlogs recently talking about this particular topic, and somebody turned around and says, well, there should be no competition in carp fishing. And there isn't. It isn't a competition, but at the end of the day, it's just having an accolade for somebody who's had a decent season, and some guys who put a lot of effort into their fishing. It's nice to have, as you said, you won it one year. It's nice to have that reward that recognition. Seeing Tom Stokes win it he's had a great year, Tom Stokes has. It's brilliant. And I know he's over the moon you can see from his posts, from their podcast, the Calder one, that he's over the moon for it. And he should be. And he should be.
It's certainly, if you've been nominated or, if you get to win it, it's nice to sort of go, okay, actually other people have sort of seen and appreciate.
Exactly.
Tom Stokes could only compete against the people that was on that list, and out of that list in the Angling Times, he was definitely the most deserving, I would have said.
He was.
So you know, we're not criticising Tom Stokes for winning the Angling Times one. I think he'll have a very good chance of winning the Sipography one because he's nominated in that as well. He would push Logan a good way. He has had a fantastic season as well. But it's
a subjective view, isn't
it?
It's one of them subjective views.
But
we will see how this rolls out, no doubt, with anticipation.
So either well done or commiserations.
I'm not going to win it, and I hope I don't win it because I've not had a great season by some. One year, a few years ago, 2015, I had an outstanding season. I caught the biggest fish from 7 different waters, including 80s from 2 different venues, 50s in England and stuff like that, and I came second in the Carp Angler of the Year to a guy who didn't catch the biggest fish from one lake. Do you know what I mean?
Here we go. We've just unearthed some old skeletons in his closet now. Not bitter.
Sounds like it might have been me.
Not bitter. 10 years ago.
You are bitter though. Clarkie's probably bitter about him not winning it last year because he should have won it. You know, it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day, but it's nice. As you said, you've won it. So nobody wants to delete what you've achieved. It's a great thing, mate. And nobody would knock even Sipography if it's a different angler compared to the Angling Times one. It's no different to the WBC World Heavyweight Champion or the WBA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
It's just how things are. You know, if more in the days of carp talk, Carp World, Crafty Carp, Total Carp, Advanced Carp, there was about 5 different carp anglers of the year. You know, now there's only one, and it's the Angling Times one. So Sipography, it's going to be another one. Looked at in a different view, and I welcome things like that.
Yeah,
for sure. I think so. Yeah, anticipation. We'll see how that rolls out. Speaking of catches of years gone by and yesteryear, I want to roll this right back to the beginning of where it all started for you, Crowy. I know you had some amazing adventures, meeting Rod Hutchinson, meeting Hughesy, and all your escapades with him. So where did it all start? When did the sort of bug grab you and you thought, I'm off on the road on this carp fishing adventure?
Same as all guys did in the 70s when I was born. You went fishing with your dad or your granddad. You watched that little float going under and the excitement of what's on the end. And my granddad used to put me on his crossbar of his bike, take me down to the local cut in Wolverhampton and fish for gudgeon, perch, anything that came along. And then we'd go to the pub and have a drink and talk about
how old were you?
I was, it started when I was about 4 or 5. And I've got memories of him giving me alcohol as well in them days. But I'm not an alcohol. I don't drink any nowadays. But that's where my
back then.
That's where my fishing adventure started as a young kid, just float fishing for everything. I caught my first carp in 1980 by pure accident. I wanted to catch carp, but I went fishing for anything.
So where did you grow up? So what area of the country was this? You cut your teeth sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm born and bred in Wolverhampton in the Midlands, and to Yorkshire parents. My mum's from Yorkshire, my dad's from Yorkshire, and my dad's from Wolverhampton, but his side of the family's from Yorkshire, and I've ended up living now in Yorkshire. So
do you feel like a Yorkshireman?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm very outspoken, like Jeff Boycott, and I say as it is and stuff like that, and I'm quite proud of that.
Yeah,
I'm proud of my Yorkshire roots.
Adopted Yorkshireman.
But I'm a proud Brummie and all. Every now and again the old Brummie bit comes out. The words. If I'm surrounded by a load of Brummies now, you see my accent start to change to Yahweh. This, that's how I am. I'm from Wolverhampton, and I was born and bred in Wolverhampton, catching fish in wolves, and progressed into carp fishing from the age of 10. Catching a carp by chance from a venue called, at the time it was called Gaskell's Pool, which is just on the outskirts of Codsall in Wolverhampton, which is where I'm from. And it's now called Leighton's Pool. Pure accident carp. Reel fell off. Back in those days, I had one of those overfit cork-handled rods, and I stuck into the fish and the reel fell off. I know, and it was one of my mates from school. I hadn't got a big enough landing net. I didn't even have a landing net. I had a keep net, and I landed it in a keep net. So that was my first taste of carp fishing, and then it's just gone from there, as you do, to progress into I like that. I'll put another rod out for for that dream carp over there, and eventually you start turning into a carp angler, and that's where we are today.
Amazing. So going into your teenage years then now, meeting, I'm guessing, was that the time you sort of bumped in and struck the friendship up with Hughesy? Was that sort of time? How did that sort
Around then, yeah. A lot of times passed between when I started fishing, caught my first carp, to meeting Rob. I started fishing on local lakes in Wolverhampton, like Pool Hall. I fished on a venue that my dad used to have access to, which is near Himley, which was called Enville. I used to fish with a lad called Dave Chancellor from Wolverhampton, who fishes Rob Ailes's lakes. Chance, I went to the same school as Chance. We used to go fishing. He had a little pond in his back garden. When we was about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we used to try and catch fish out of there. We used to go fish on the River Severn together, me and Chance did. And at the time, my mum and dad were going through a divorce, so I then moved away from that area, which was like around the Womburn area, and moved back to Codsall, where I'm born and bred, and stayed there and started fishing like the local area around there. And met Rob when I was about 19, 20, I think it was. At the time, I was at college, and I was at Stafford College doing a national diploma or something like that to do with sports and exercise. Because I'm from a sporting family, and sports my passion, fishing's my passion as well. And I was in a tackle shop called Steve Babb Tackle, and at the time, I used to go in Steve Babb's Tackle as a stopover from leaving college to getting back to Codsall on the trains. And I was behind the counter talking to Steve, and this guy walked in wearing a suit, opened the door, I've arrived. And I looked at this guy and I thought, who's this dude? And then basically he just flannelled, I know everything about carp fishing, I am the carp master, you will believe everything I say. And I kind of liked him, and I think he kind of liked me. And at the time we gelled and we became really good friends. And Rob is, I was his best man at his wedding. He was the best man at my first wedding, and he's a long-time friend. And we both have had a journey from that moment through to now to working in the fishing industry. And we both basically gone through the same pathway. Started fishing on local pits. When we met each other, we then started travelling around a lot more and started fishing a lot more venues outside of the local area and travelling overseas. And that's where the adventures of Hughes and Crow really sort of went overseas and to the day ticket lakes around the UK. And both of us had a passion for our hobby. And I've been a sportsman, tried to make sport my living, my career, because I've never really liked working. I hate working, and I've had jobs and hated every single one of them. But if you find, I'm one of these, my wife now turns around to me and she says sometimes that I'm probably on the spectrum somewhere of one of these ADHD, autism things, because when I find something that I like, I properly,
laser focus.
That's it. I'm laser focused on it, and I won't get off that track. And fishing was my passion, and I dreamt one day of, I'd love to be earning money from going fishing. And both myself and Rob had the same sort of outlook. And Rob, he was going on a much better path than me. I was still at college, university. Rob was a lawyer, earning good money, mixing with the la-di-dahs and driving BMWs, wearing watches that's worth more than my house and things like, And he turned that career down to turn fishing into his which was his hobby. Yeah. And he wasn't earning anything when he started. And the two of us have bit by bit started earning £5 or a tenner, 15 quid, 20 quid. And the two of us now.
You started doing the Kart World series together, the day ticket one. Do you remember what year that was?
Well, rewind it a little bit, because if you go to about 1989, 1990, around that time I was fishing with a lad called Rich Taylor, who ended up being the brand manager for Wychwood. Yeah. I went to the same school as Rich, and I was carp fishing with Rich. And one of his friends, which is a guy called Richard Sedgley, who unfortunately lost his life in Iraq. He was, roadside bomb blew him up, unfortunately. But Rich Sedgley was into carp fishing as well, same as Rich Taylor was. And we kind of went to the same school. Can't remember exactly how it was. I think I worked at a poultry farm on a weekend, and Rich Sedgley got a job on a poultry farm as well, the same poultry farm, I should say. And we started talking about fishing. And then he was a carp angler, I was a carp angler. where'd you fish, all that kind of stuff. And then I met Rich Taylor, and Rich Sedgley went his own way, and me and Rich Taylor started fishing on one or two local syndicates together. And bait in those days was very expensive, but the two of us had a bit of a passion for trying to roll our own bait. So we made our own little bait company, which was called Carp Balls UK. And when I met Rob Hughes, this particular bait company was going nowhere. It was just me and Rich rolling bait, selling a bit of bait on the local lakes, and neither of us was salesmen. We were just passionate carp anglers. And then Hughesy walked in. Oh, you have a bait company, right? I'll sell it for you. So basically, within a year of Rob being involved with me and Rich, it was in 30 tackle shops in the Midlands.
Rod Hughes,
and and it went from there. And then Rich fell in love with a girl, went his own path, which left just me and Rob together. The bait company started going places with Rob involved with it because he was a businessman selling things. And I can remember even being sat outside some of the tackle shops in the Midlands where Hughesy would turn around and go, you stay in the car. You'll say the wrong thing. So you sit here, keep an eye on the van, I'll go in and I'll sell it. And they basically go in the tackle shop and he'd come out and I've sold 200 quid worth of bait just in 10 minutes. And it went from there, it started gathering momentum. But basically what happened was in those days, the magazines was the media of carp fishing. You got Carp World, you got Carp Fisher. And I think I'd started writing the odd article in Carp Fisher at the time, just touch, like I was at university, college, and you start to learn how to word process, you start to write articles, and I sent one or two off to Carp Fisher. And then we started thinking about trying to push the bait company a little bit further. Another one of Rob's ideas, we need to start advertising. And I think he rang Tim Paisley up and asked how much the advertising rates were. And Tim told him, and Rob went, I'm not paying that, like he would. So I said, I'll write an article, see if we can get a mention in the mag for the bait company and see if that'll help promote it. So that's where it started. I wrote an article for Carp World, and I couldn't believe it. About two months later, I got a check for this article. I said, geez, I've got paid for right now. And his ears pricked up. And then that was like our avenue into getting in the regular slot in Carp World. We started writing articles regularly. And then at the time, Carp World, which was about 1992, I think it was, it's fair to say that carp fishing in those days was a lot different to what it is today. It was only about specimen carp fishing. It was only about catching a big one. And as a young kid coming into carp fishing, you opened Carp World and there was 10 articles in there, let's say, and 9 of the articles had features in where none of the venues was mentioned, none of the lakes, the guys had named the fish or anything like that. You had no idea where they were from. So as a young kid, you was opening the magazine going on thinking, I don't know anything about big fish in the country, I don't know anything about it. So we both said it'd be great if there was a section in that magazine to do with where to fish, because there was no where to fish guide in the mag in them days. So I said to Rob, because it was my idea, he'll say it was his, but it was my idea. I said, let's start, see if Tim Paisley will have some features about where to fish. So Rob being Rob, I'll ring him. So he rang him, hi, it's Rob Hughes. Hi, Rob, how you doing? And basically sold it to Tim. Next minute we've got, send in 2 or 3 features, and that's what we did. And then it just went from there. And then Tim liked the way we was doing the articles because we were word processing them back in those days, which was unheard of. Most guys used to handwrite them in, and obviously as an editor of a magazine, you wanted something that was easy to work with, time saving. These young kids are sending it in virtually word perfect because they know how to use all the software and stuff like that, and they're keen. And we started writing.
Sorry,
were you surprised? Sorry.
Would you, just obviously because of the time, and a lot of the people listening to this won't remember a time pre-digital photographs.
Yeah.
So were you taking photos of each other to go in the article on a film camera? Yeah. Were you then getting those pictures processed and then sending the photos up to Carp World for them to scan them into the mag? Yeah. So it's hard for people to realise you're taking photos of the fish, but also tactical shots or whatever. Yeah. But you have no idea if those photos are going to come out any good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
there's a 30-day wait as well from the day that you sent it off to when it came through the post. and sometimes it was late. Sometimes they'd come back and the head was missing, and you know, you remember what those days was like. But yeah, photographs different to how it is today. You can't just go and delete it and see if it's all right and see if it's perfect. It was a lot different, but it's fair to say that media in those days was a hell of a lot different to what it is. And we were young kids, so we kind of foresaw avenues of how to help the editor's job to make things more workable for him. And we saw an avenue. We went on it, and from then onwards, Tim wanted more regular stuff off us for Carp World. Then Carp Talk started, which was a weekly magazine. So he obviously needed more content for that. Who better than two young super keenies, both of us who wanted to make a living out of fishing. And we ended up being in Carp Talk regularly. And then I ended up working in the office, and we then entered the World Carp Cup, which started in 1996, which in those days, it was unheard of. A carp fishing match, a global carp fishing match. If anybody entered that, he was a complete noddy. And who better than to enter it than two massive noddies, me and Rob, who went and smashed up day ticket waters and ended up in features holding 5-pounders, 6-pounders on a weekend visit to a lake. Because all our features in Carp World was full of tiny little fish. Yet we were surrounded by features of massive carp. So you can imagine all these old blokes looking at us, a couple of noddies here, 5-pounders and 6-pounders. But, you know, it's the start of what is carp fishing today, really. So just go and enjoy it.
You went to Fisherville 1996.
Yeah.
Did the World Carp Cup, was it called?
Yeah.
Which you and Rob won.
Yeah.
Now, randomly, obviously, you're at the Fox offices in Essex, and we're a multinational company. We have people work for us all around the world. In the office today is one of our French colleagues who works on the Fox Rage Predator brand, and he's working in one of the offices for a few days. And I was talking to him yesterday, and he was randomly, by weird coincidence, he was at Fisherville in 1996 as a teenager. He was in the Browning Junior French carp team, and this other lad had been selected, and they went to meet each other at Fisherville. So they were at Fisherville, and he was there as I think he was 13, 14, because he's now 44, 45. So, and he said, because I said, we've got Simon Crowe coming in for the podcast, and he was like, I was at Fisherville in France when he won that. So, yeah, pretty random coincidence that you're in the office at the same time, 25 years later.
Was it the actual final, the event that we won?
That you won, yeah.
Wow, cool.
He was there when you won it, yeah.
Wow, that's mad.
Duffing up teenagers.
No, he doesn't. He wasn't fishing. He didn't compete. I think he just went to watch. Yeah, as a spectator, I think.
There was a lot of people there. It's not exaggerated. This isn't. You can check the photographs and the videos. They reckon that on the bank during the course of the 5 days, there was 40,000 people there. And I would not argue with that, honestly, because the guy who owned
and most of them would have been behind you, Rob.
There was a lot of them behind us, yeah. Most, believe it or not, most of them was around the French teams. They wanted the French to win. You know, it was quite a competitive event.
Was there other British pairs? Or was
yeah, there's quite a few British pairs. Yeah. Most of the people who had entered were British because in the early 1990s, mid-1990s, carp fishing still was massive in England, and that was the birthplace of carp fishing. And, okay, carp fishing started in France 1800s, whenever the eating carp started or whatever. But the modern day style of carp fishing as we see it probably wasn't born in France until the days of when Cassian was born, you know, and they started seeing the English guys fishing on Cassian and seeing how these guys caught the specimen carp. So it was an evolving industry in France. And I think the match fishing side of carp fishing started really in France. You know, the Enduros, they was more into the Enduros than the English guys were. You know, when that match was first announced in the English press, you know, the amount of slaggings off we had. I remember Rob Malin writing an editorial in Big Carp at the time when me and Rob won it, and he turned around and what an absolute joke. Who are these complete noddies, Crowe and Hughes, the world champions? And don't quote me on this, but I'm fairly sure that's where the phrase Sir Pete came along for Pete Springate, because at the time Pete had just caught Mary and Mary's mate from Raysbury, and Rob, I think from memory, turned around and said, Pete Springate is the world champion for catching those two fish from Raysbury. And of course he was, you know, those two amazing carp that he won. We weren't claiming to be world champions. It was just that the event was labelled the World Championships. But for two young kids who won it, it standing on the podium hearing the national anthem was, you've been there. You've been there, mate. You know how emotional it is.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They can slag you off as much as they want, But when you're standing there and you're going through that was our
It's a shame Chili's not here, because Chile is also a world champion. We've got Chile won a world championships in America on the St. Lawrence River. You've won a world championships in France at Fisherville. Harry's won a world championships, or 2 world championships. 3 completely different world championship events. Like you said, it's like having the darts, WBC, or different boxing belts or whatever. But all relevant world champions. Nobody will ever take that away from any of you. But I would like to ask the question: why did you win? Was it your peg draw, or was you superior in angling ability to who was around you at that time, because of the way you were fishing these day ticket lakes and trying your luck at so many different waters? Were you and Rob just more advanced than the guys that you were competing, or was you in the dolly old peg that anybody was going to win from?
We definitely weren't in the dolly old peg. Absolutely not. And it was a watercraft draw as well. And there was 55 teams, which was watercraft. And me and Rob came 30th out the draw.
Nice.
So 30 pegs had been chosen before we chose that one. But what we did have is a knowledge of that lake. And what we did have as well is, what I would like to say is, we kind of started, I'm not trying to big myself up, but we kind of started this fishing for bites. Because carp fishing in those days was about specimen hunting. It was all about that. Catching the big one. Very secretive. Nobody told anybody anything. And Jim Gibbinson, who sadly passed away this year, actually referred to myself and Rob in the early carp worlds at the time as the kiss and tell twins, because we were different. We were basically...
I never knew that.
We came on the scene and told everybody everything. And, wrote about the venues, told all how to fish it, and they'd never seen anything like that in the magazines at the time. It was all secretive. And even people like Ken Townley, what gives you the right to come and fish our waters, and then write about them and blazing them all over the magazines and stuff like that. But, we didn't really understand that side of things as 2 young kids. We didn't. Looking back at it, of course you do things a little bit differently, because you're different when you're younger. And these guys were middle-aged men who've probably got the same mindset as I have now, but you don't understand it when you're a young kid. And we came on the scene and just fished the venue, took pictures of every swim, wrote about it, and got the check. Yeah, wicked. And onto the next venue. Do you know what I mean? Onto the next venue. So we kind of born this idea of fishing lots of different venues, and developed a style of fishing lots of different venues, which was always going to do well in an event like that. And we wasn't really interested in entering it. It was Nashi who turned around and said, that event you need to enter, because we were sponsored by Kevin Nash at the time. He'd seen our smash and grab day ticket style of fishing, and had turned around, and when he saw that we were in Cartwheel regularly, he turned around to Tim Paisley and said, I want to get those lads on board, but they've got their own bait company, but can you tell them that they can come and work for Nash? I'll give them as much tackle as they want for nothing, and as much bait as you want for nothing. And me and Rob at the time, we had this little bait company, and we were always grafting. And Rob was grafting after work to try and get it into the tackle shops. And when Nashy turned around and said, you can have as much bait as you want free, he was starting Nash Bait. That's when it all started, around that sort of time. And you can have all that gear for free as well. Both me and Rob went, it's a no-brainer. We'll get rid of the bait company. We'll go and work for Nashy. And another little story to that is that when we decided we was going to go to Nash Bait when it started, Rob being Rob, the next day after we'd made the decision, he turned around to me, just to let you know, I've sold the bait company. And I was like, oh, right, okay. Dave Ash, who's from Telford, he's still carping now, Dave. Bless him, he fishes in Telford. He bought the bait company for about $3,000. And Rob had sort of, this is back in 1996, we got about $3,000 for it.
Dave Ash, he's still,
Carp Balls is still going.
Still going. Dave sold it to different people.
He's doing quite a bit now on the linear syndicates.
Yeah, that's right. Great carp angler.
Yeah, good guy, really
nice guy.
He used to use the shop. Yeah, lovely guy, to be fair.
Well, he paid $3,000 for the bait company that was probably worth about 50 quid. But Rob being Rob, he needed to sell $3,000. He probably then, I can't remember, but he probably gave me 500 quid, and he had $2,500. But we sold that, went to work with Nash, and it was Nashy that turned around and said, that event's for you. Yeah, that's for you. You got to enter it. And he entered us in it, and we went in there, and we walked around the whole lake. And I can remember going, and it's 30 years next year since that event. Me and Rob are going to do a little bit of a get together and talk about it and stuff like that. But
you should go to Fisherville and fish next year. Make a film, you and Rob.
Yeah, well, I fell out with Raphael though. So
Oh, right,
I don't
okay,
know whether
maybe
I'll be
not
invited back. So, me being me. So we might need a bit of Rob Hughes blagging.
Yeah.
with
I'm sure
Raphael.
he'd blag it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just use
see.
AI, go somewhere else, and we'll just AI it into Fisherville.
But we walked around the lake, I can remember, and we plotted 1 to 4, 4 being our favourite swims and 1 being our least favourite swims. And when we got to the draw, and we was 30th out the draw, we couldn't believe that one of our number 4 swims was still available, which was Peg 17, and that's the one we went in. And we won it. We caught the first fish, the most fish, the biggest fish, and ended up with, I think it was about 100,000 French francs for winning it.
That'll do.
So as
What
two
would that
young
have been
kids,
in?
About 12 grand, I think it was.
Wow,
You know,
that's
a lot of money,
That's
yeah.
a
too
lot.
young, yeah, but Nashi took half of it though. So
Did he? Had he paid for your entry fee and your travel and everything to go?
he paid half of it and took half of it.
fair
So
play.
that's-
Yeah.
he's- and Nash,
Fair
He
play.
betted on you.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. He was a
And
visionary,
to be
so
fair to
fair
Kev
play.
as well, he gave us, and this is why I'm indebted to him, he gave us that step up the ladder. That was from Kev.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he did that. I ain't ever going to knock him. Nash is an amazing bloke, and I'm really proud to have worked for his company for many years. Super, super guy.
Yeah.
One of my heroes of angling. And he at the time, Nash bait, Nash tackle wasn't as big as it is now, obviously. So we helped him get his stuff into France, and because that event was a global event, it was marketed all around Europe. And from our point of view, we got articles from not just in England off the back of it, France, Germany, Spain, everything, and the whole network started to open up for us.
Yeah.
So the two of us ended up starting to make a little bit more money, making a little bit more of a pathway into our career. Carp World started becoming a monthly magazine. As I say, Carp Talk started, so you started getting more and more money from your articles, and the more your articles go out there. Nashi wasn't paying us at the time, and then we had a phone call from Tim Paisley about 2 or 3 years on from that, and he said, Rod Hutchinson wants you to go and work for him, and are you interested? And to us at the time, Rod was the Man United. Well, is that the right club, Man United? No, it's not the
Yeah,
right.
Not
no,
nowadays.
no,
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 not nowadays.
Is it the Arsenal? Yeah, I don't
Sleeping
know.
giant.
He
thank
was
you.
the number one. To be fair to Nashi, Rod was the number one, and he was going to pay us as well.
What was that? I'm just trying to get my head around this, because Hutchy is such a legend to so many people. For you and Hughesy to have that draw of knowledge from Hutchy, from Nashi, from Paisley, you must have got so much carp information from those 3 alone, and Clifford as well.
Yeah.
It must have been so good to have those guys on the end of the phone and draw all that knowledge to set you up in the career you've got now to go and hunt these big fish. Did you have lots of conversations with those? Were you sort of constantly trying to draw as much as you can from those guys?
Yeah, I was starstruck with all of them, honestly. Even though carp fishing then was a lot smaller than it is now, those guys were my Muhammad Ali's of the carp fishing industry. They were Nashi, Hutchy. I can list them all to you now. Nashi, Hutchy, Tim, Jules, Kev Clifford, Borley, Frank Warwick, Martin Locke, even Briggsy. They're the guys that I used to read about, and they'd been involved in carp fishing before I was involved in carp fishing, and they had a smaller industry and a lot less booming industry, so they were the pioneers. Before then there was pioneers as well. The Jack Hiltons, the Dick Walkers and stuff like that. But carp fishing back in those days, the 70s and the 80s, as I was starting out, is massively different to what it is. Massively, massively different. So any of those guys, to me, they were in love with carp fishing for what it is carp fishing. It's fair to say there's probably people who go carp fishing nowadays because of a different reason to what I went carp fishing for. When I first started carp fishing, I just fell in love with it. Absolutely. It wasn't to do with making the money. It wasn't to do with anything other than I loved fishing. And I found something in fishing that eventually I could find an avenue to maybe making a little bit of money from, which is now, obviously, as the industry's changed, it's now my career.
So after the Fisherville match, and then you were writing in Carp World, what came sort of next in terms of milestones? Because obviously you've written books together, you and Rob, and been in videos, before DVDs. So what was a book? Did the book come first, or did the short session carping films
I don't know. You'd have to ask Rob. He was the driving force behind every single business type decision, because I am not the type of person to pick up the phone and go, "Hi, Tim Paisley, it's Simon Crowe here." It's just not how I am. I've never been like that at all. I'm purely about the love of going fishing, and I'm not saying that Rob isn't, because Rob is. Rob is an out-and-out, absolutely passionate angler. Didn't care whether he made 5 pence from it, 10 pence or anything. He just was a dirt and, being out in the cold type of angler, just loves it. He is. But he has a love for money, and he just does. If you've got a watch on that's more expensive than his, he's, that green eye. Yes, well, I'm going to get one of those next week. He's that kind of guy.
I love Hughes.
He just is.
I love him.
You've just got to be around him 10 minutes, and when you know him, he can't sell me anything, because I know him so well. And being around Rob so much means that Ali Amidi can't sell me anything either, because they're both very similar.
Very sceptical of anybody.
They're very good salesmen. And
so how did the venture start with Venture? When did that sort of come about?
That started, you're moving on, a few more years on from then, because we're mainly talking about sponsorships more than anything. And the sponsorship from Nash went to Rod, which was probably 97, 98, something like that. And Rod was paying us.
Yeah.
We weren't just going to get free tackle and bait, we were going to get some money as well. And that was around the time when I finished at university, so I had to make decisions about what I was doing with my career. And I'd been offered some work in the Carp Talk office, which is where I basically went to university in Hull. I went to Hull Institute of Fisheries Management. I did a master's degree in fisheries management, and Carp Talk is just down the road from Hull University. So they gave me 1 or 2 days a week in the office there, and Rod was going to give us a bit of money to be a sponsored angler as well. And that's how I started making my steps into the full-time carp fishing arena.
So you were getting paid just as but as a sponsored angler back then. So was that 97, did you say?
97, 98, something like that, yeah.
So
when we went from Nashi, when we first got sponsored by Nashi, we weren't getting paid. We were just getting free tackle and bait, which was a massive thing in those days. It really was, because there was a lot of, even in them days, there was a lot of the trade plus VAT type deals still available, those kind of things. There weren't many people who were getting, Kevin would have to answer this, but from memory, I think probably Kevin's first paid angler was probably Jim Gibbonson or someone along those lines, the previous generation to me and Rob. And we didn't get paid by Nash around the World Carp Cup time, 96, 97. And then when we started getting our name further into the European market, that's when Rod came to us and said, "Do you want to come work for us?" And I can't remember what we got paid. It was about $4,000 each a year, which in them days was quite a lot of money. Plus your other, the other part-time work and stuff like that. And that's when it kind of became more of my career. And we was with Rod for about 4 or 5 years, something like that, and maybe 6 years, I can't remember. And Rod's company started to go bust. I think he had suppliers. It wasn't Rod that went bust, it was the suppliers that he had, because Rod being Rod, he just liked going fishing, and he'd let people deal with his business. And the business realm, or I can't remember what the other company was called, there was another company involved with it. One of them went bust. So we was kind of left, what we're going to do now? And Rob being Rob, we're going to become the next Fox International. So give me your money, Crowe. Give me your money, Briggs. Give me your money, Rennie Hawkins. And we started Venture. That's how we started. And we developed from...
That must have been, 2005 or 6?
I don't know. I can't remember when it was. 2002,
I think
3.
it was. I remember Shoes coming in. Yeah. We just opened the shop, which was 2007. I remember Shoes coming in around that time.
Yeah,
talking about
a bit later. I started working for Angling Publications in 2005.
Yeah.
One of my first ever... Well, it was my first ever assignment. I went out with Matt Woods, who was the editor of Crafty Carper at the time, to Motorway Pond to do a feature with you. That was the first magazine feature that I ever went on,
right?
At Motorway Pond, and you had a Hutchy dome style bivvy then. That always sticks in my mind, and I'll tell you why, because I think the following year you used it at Linear Fisheries, and you said to a kid, if you can get that packed away and put back in the bag, you can keep it. And it had those really bright guide ropes on it.
Yeah.
So that always sticks in my mind. So you were still using Hutchy stuff about then. So like Dean's saying, 2007 would probably be about right on the venture.
Yeah, maybe,
side.
I don't know, maybe 2005, 2006. I got divorced in 2005. And I remember it being around that sort of time. Don't quote me, I can't
Maybe
remember.
when you've started on the products, obviously it takes
Yeah.
time before you launch them, doesn't it, and stuff. But yeah, venture. I remember the Razorback bivvy and the
That was Hughes's
flotation
idea, John Hughes
flotation
going,
waistling.
yeah.
Great
That was
bivvy.
shoot again.
And the B, they were
Berkeley.
Berkeley.
Yeah, no, the first two products I think was the Razorback and the floating waistling, weren't they?
The floating waistling, yeah. Rob Hughes says it's his idea. Hughes says that it's his idea. One of those two developed what we now call the flotation sling.
Yeah.
Great, but we couldn't keep up with sales because we were the only company doing it.
Yeah, amazing.
And Dave Watson, who was working for it, I remember him. He was, I'm out of them already. I'm out of them, and he just kept selling them one after another. And then the other companies went from there. And that's where we've got now. But venture didn't last because we were all doing our own thing. I think it lasted for about 3 years, and
it wasn't like it was full time. It was all you were all doing
we were all
it part time,
mate.
Yeah,
and it's nobody's fault other than the main three of us, which was me, Rob, and Steve Briggsy. We were all doing our own thing. Rob was running the BCAC at the time. Briggsy just wanted to go fishing. I was at Carp Talk and just wanted to go fishing. And Rob Hughes hairdressing, Rob Hughes facials, Rob Hughes massage.
He was at the Angling International holiday business, didn't he? He was doing, like you say, British Carp Champs as
And then I started getting phone calls
at
Carp Talk, people ringing up, this venture bivvy's leaking. Where's Rob? Why aren't you in the office? Well, today's not venture day. And it's like, well, that's no good. So in the end, I turned around to Sam Anderson, who owned
Eric's Angling.
Eric's Angling Centre. I said, do you want to buy it? And he went, yeah. So he bought it. He bought all the stock, bought the business, and we sold it. And we did all right. We did okay.
Yeah.
We did okay out of it. But Sam didn't really do a great deal with it. I think he just wanted to sell the stock and made some money off the back of that. And from then, we then rejoined Nash, and then went to Avid. So,
You've been with Avid a long time now.
8 years now.
8 years,
yeah.
yeah.
After Carp Talk ended, 7 years I should say. Carp Talk ended in 2018. That was the last issue. I was with Carp Talk from issue 1 right through to the last issue. Best days of my life. Loved it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I can
loved
imagine.
working at Carp Talk. It taught me so much. Working with Kev Clifford, Tim Paisley, and Borley, and Paddy Webb as well to a certain extent. Just loved it. Being on the news desk of carp fishing was ace.
You must have some stories about some people like trying to blag getting in the mags.
Oh, mate,
with
loads of them. Loads. Every week
proper
there was
dodgy Photoshop jobs. And things like that.
Every week there was somebody ringing up. That fish on page 6, he caught it over my baited area. He's a liar. Every week, dealing with egos in carp fishing as well. A lot of these guys now that you see posting on Facebook and stuff like that. I could tell you some stories about
without naming
on the front covers and stuff.
Without naming any names, we don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But obviously, at the start of this, we talked about Carp Angler of the Year, and the Carp Talk Carp Angler of the Year. Wasn't there somebody who caught fish from a lake and photographed them wearing different changed clothing and put them in a different
area?
Yeah, let's not go into too much detail. Like I said, I don't want to throw the person under the bus because they are a friend of mine, and I don't want to do that. But I just think it's pertinent, given what Harry just said, that that somebody wanted to win the Carp Angler of the Year that much that they were found to be resubmitting the same fish capture, but they changed their clothes for their photos. Yeah. How did that? Can you remember how it came about? How you caught them out? For
somebody rang up the office and said, because we didn't see it, have a look at this week's fish and look at the fish 3 weeks before or 4 weeks before, and you'll see the same tree, the same leaf, all that kind of stuff. And there it was. That's where we spotted it. And I rang him up and went, right, there you go, boy. Oh, no, that's not how it happened. Yes, it is. See you later. Delete. He's gone. So he got caught out, But he's not the worst one at all.
No.
That was a competition. We had people superimposing fish over Nick Hellier's hands one year. I remember that. Trying to claim prizes. Yeah, a fish that Nick had caught. We didn't even see it. We thought the picture looked a bit dodgy. But then Nick rang up and said, that picture on page whatever, that's my capture of, I don't know, the Matt Hayes fish from, I think it was Hardwick. Millennium
Manor, I
Complex.
think. Was it Mahays Fishing Manor?
One of those
No,
lakes,
Hardwick.
anyway.
Was it?
Yeah,
Hardwick, yeah.
And he got his nails on it and everything. It cut around. This is in the early days of Photoshop, and basically superimposed this, picture on him. But Nick had spotted it, and spotted this fish. And then these guys, it turned out there was like a team of them, and they were claiming weekly prizes. And he then, I think Martin Ford at the time was friends with somebody from the Daily Star. So they got hold of the story, and then it went global, because it's fraud at the end of the day, trying to claim prizes.
And it's funny to the wider people that people are pretending to hold up fish.
Do you remember what you did to me?
Yes. I was talking about that only the other day.
That
wasn't my idea.
No,
though,
but
Lou.
it really upset. That's the only time I would say in knowing you for 20 years.
It wasn't my idea though.
That we've had a small falling out.
It went on. I'll tell you what happened. Right. I'll tell you what happened.
Still slightly.
We was in the office, and this was the early days of Photoshop, where you could do anything to pictures. You could change it and stuff like that. And Angling Publications had Angling Publications, Carp Fishing News, had a really, just like here, an office environment of friends, and you could take the piss out of each other. You can laugh about all sorts of stuff. And Lou sent this picture in, which we didn't know was a really special carp to him, and it meant an awful lot to him.
And this was before you worked for Angling?
No, I was at Angling Publications. It would have been about 2008, 2007,
Right.
2008.
Yeah. And he basically sent the cash report in. We got the cash report, and Kev Clifford, I can remember it now, turned around and went, right, let's put some makeup on Lewis's face. And it was colour. So the picture went in the magazine. Lewis had
blusher, lipstick, eyeliner,
everything on. And when the kids in the office was doing it, the lads in the office was doing it, everyone was laughing because they all knew him. Yeah. But obviously you don't look at the wider repercussions of this, and this is where we didn't do, because we didn't realise that it was a special fish on a lake where Lou had a bit of stick. But basically what happened was it went out. You did the magazine because it was every single week. You forgot about it. And then a week later, the mag came out on a Wednesday, and I just got this internal call passed through to me. I think it was Sue that answered the phone. She went, "Hi, Si, I've got Lewis Porter on the phone for you." "All right." The fuck, Jesus Christ! Whoa, Lou, no, whoa, no, whoa, Lou, weren't me. I don't know whether he'd done the same to Kev Clifford at the time, whose idea it was, but I got the brunt of it. I got the brunt of it because I was his mate, and Lou was really upset about it because this particular fish, which we didn't know, was from a lake where he'd really sought after. He tried to catch it, and it was had a bit of stick from there.
It was a really hard lake that season. It did 18 fish all year, and I caught 9 of them. Right, and it was very hard graft. I was living in Sheffield, driving to Peterborough on a Friday afternoon through the traffic, fishing weekends.
Was that Northie?
No, it's a Cambridgeshire gravel pit.
One of them.
It was a real cliquey, horrible place to be at the time. Nobody really talked to each other. One of the rules on the complex, it's a massive complex, was that you could not be out of your swim with your rods in, because it was set up by a pike angler, and you can't be off your rods pike fishing. He believed it was the same for carp. If you was off your rods, a carp would swallow the rig, and and we know with self-hooking rigs that doesn't happen, but he believed that. So it was very strict Environment Agency rules. You cannot be more than 3 meters off your rods. So it wasn't a social lake. You never went in the swim next door and sat and drank tea, because this bailiff, the Nutter, he was known as, I think his name was Andy Nutt, which was perfect because they was known as the Nutter. He would do you big style, massive. Anyway, so it was a horrible environment. There was a lot of real jealous, nasty people on there. I was working in the magazine industry at that stage, so there's a lot of people who didn't like that fact, like Simon's had in the past with the green-eyed monsters or what have you. And I was young and probably deserved a bit of the jip I was getting because I was a bit bolshy maybe or whatever.
It up, mate.
And I was opinionated. So I had so this one particular common, the floppy tail common, the box common, it had 2 different names. It was high up on my, this is one of the real fish I want. I'd grafted. The day I caught it was on a full moon, which Crowy don't believe in. Big common, biggest common in the lake on a full moon. The lake next door on the complex, my mate caught the biggest common in that lake that night on the full moon. We're at this stage, the full moon is the fucking bollocks, right? I'm a proper carp angler. I fished on the full moon. I caught the big common. This is one of the best captures of my life. I'll put it in carp talk because carp talk meant a massive amount to me back then. You can't describe now to a modern angler.
No.
Because they put it on Instagram. It's how many likes do you get. But back then it was like, for
It
carp
was the
talk.
weekly Bible, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd been on the front cover before I worked for Angling Publications because I caught Kitch from Northey Park, and they'd put me on the front cover with that, and it was an amazing, moment for me to do that. But so I've got the carp talk. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, how big's my picture going to be? Am I going to be? Because like the bigger pictures were at the front of carp talk, and then as it went on, it went smaller, and you end up in the regional bit or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck? I am trans before trans was a thing. So I was mortified, more so because of the abuse and mocking that I got from my peers on that lake about the fact that my capture was now belittled. So I was furious.
But we didn't see the repercussions of that.
And
you know what it's like. You just do.
But what made it worse, I think, the week after you put the picture back in with an apology, which then made it look like
more people went looking back for it.
That'd have been Paddy. That'd have been Paddy that did that, mate. Paddy's dry sense of humour is like, we'll just put an apology in.
But sorry for hijacking it, but I couldn't let that go. It was brilliant.
Crowy, I've got some questions from the guys at the syndicate. Before I get on to that, this is your right to reply to Hughesy's "Your rig always tangles." Yeah. What do you want to say about that? Because he always said he used to dive down and Crow's rig would always be tangled. I'd have to tell him and he would deny it. It's not my rig, it's not tangled.
We had a little bit of a discussion during that incident. He did this little podcast with you guys talking about it. And as mates do, you take the pee out of one another. Of
course you do.
That's how things are. And it's banter between me and Rob. People probably see it in a different way. I mean, there's no malice in anything he says about me. There's no malice in anything I say about him at all. But basically, that day we'd been invited down by Carpology to do one of these underwater dives. They check your rig. And Rob's version on the podcast was that I dived down and sampled Crow's rig, and it was tangled every single time. And he's useless, he's crap, all that, as he does. But there's a bigger story to it. It wasn't like that at all. Rob did numerous dives until he got the photograph that he wanted. He was basically dive down, do it again, and I had no idea what we were doing. I had no idea, honestly. Just cast out, so I just cast out. I think I was the first one that they did. I just cast out. So the rig's getting drilled in. And I do it again. Basically, I don't know how many casts later, but there was a few casts. Yeah. Stop! That was it. Took the picture, and that was the feature. It's finished, Crow. It's fine. It's all done now. Don't worry. And at the time, what people don't know is, as mates are mates, this was when Venture was becoming into its latter years. There was a little bit of tension between the three of us, myself and Steve probably, not between me and Steve, but towards Rob, because he should have been doing a bit more work as Rob sells you this big picture, and he wasn't doing it. And as Venture was winding down, we started not falling out, because we've never fallen out. Rob's got his reasons for being busy while he was. He'll give you a different version of events a bit. We never fell out, nobody did. But there was tension between us, and I think it was one of those, I'll stitch him up now to so-and-so Crow. And that was it. Got his photograph of this tangled rig. Feature, this is Crow's rig. And I was looked at as a noddy, to the point that it goes down the grapevine, as it does. It was mentioned on the Quarter podcast, Damien Clark. Did you see that feature in Carpology with Simon Crow's rig? Oh my God. And that's how things work in the carp fishing industry. And that's why I replied to that bit that Rob did. There was no malice in it whatsoever.
No.
I love him to bits, and I just needed to give my version of it. Wasn't quite like what you see. Don't believe everything that you see in magazine features or whatever.
I mean, he was trying to make a point, wasn't he, about not hitting the clip, and if you don't hit the clip, the thing goes in. And then he used you as the guinea pig of an example of someone who
doesn't hit the clip. And he's right. Everything that Rob said about the diving tests, if you do not hit the clip when you're using a braided hook link, you have a chance of it tangling.
He was using an inline lead, I think, as well at the time.
I can't remember.
I think so, which was going to make it even more likely that it would, I think.
He probably told me to use an inline lead, Crow, and I fell for it, because you just don't realise where it's going. And then, everything to do with Rob with those diving tests, him and Hughes went to Cassian, I think, and they did a lot of tests on diving underwater, checking how to stop a tangle with a braided hook link. And I can go off the back of that piece that I did in Carpology with Rob, I learned how to stop braided hook links from tangling, because you were aware of it in 20 years ago, but there was ways you thought you could overcome it. Even towards the early 1990s when Christon brought out this like PVA gel that you put on your hook links to stop it from tangling. It's something that you used. There's always a chance of it tangling, but Rob was really at the forefront of testing it, and I definitely learned something off the back of it. So there was a negative to do with how he sold it, but there's a positive in that he helped me fishing by stopping it.
I get maybe my memories made this up, but wasn't there also a thing with the liner? Wasn't it? Didn't he have a picture where your liner had come off the eye of the hook and was up the hook link a bit, but when you reeled in, it was back over the eye of the hook. I'm sure you said to Rob, you took it off my hook, and he was like, "Oh, I never." And you're like, "Well, there's no way it could go back over the eye of the hook just reeling it in."
There's the thing that he says where he shows you the picture, and you say to him, "That's not my rig," and he's like, "Yes, it is. Look, I've just."
Well, what happened was as well is where I won the argument, but he thinks I didn't win it. Is that this was the early stages of digital photography, and when we sat down in the Carpology tent and discussed it all, he did the flannel. Joe Wright fell for it all, and I went, "No, you're wrong. There's a date stamp on those photographs, and the date stamp on the photograph that he was trying to use in his explanation didn't work because it's basically, well, you took that one earlier than you say you did. There's the evidence." But then there was the look into the eyes, not around the eyes. Shit, it's not working. You're useless anyway, Crow. So I was deleted and turned off, like silenced like they are nowadays. And I've got no chance of winning against Rob when it comes to talking.
Do you know what? We're going to have to get another podcast done with you and Hughesy. I think it would be absolutely fantastic. Yeah. That has to happen.
None of it's bad, honestly. I love him to bits. He loves me to bits. It's banter between two mates, but on the outside, you probably don't see it. You think there's tension in. There's no tension.
No, it's two best mates having a bit of banter with each other, and it's a bit of jab to the ribs, isn't it?
I'm not a good talker. I never have been. Rob's a great talker. He's the best of them all, apart from Ali, probably.
Yeah. So. Right, dude, before we sort of wrap this up, I've got a couple of questions from the syndicate very, very quickly. So, our good friend, Les Bowers, who I know you know quite well, of all the fish you've seen in Carp Talk over the years, is there one that stood out the most for you?
There's two that stood out. Well, three, actually.
Yeah.
Three. Sorry, I can't pick one because they all have different things. First one is the Reduta World Record, which was 1998, Christian Baldermere, 82 pound 3 ounces. This little tiny guy holding this fish. And I went to absolute lengths to get that photograph sent to the Carp Talk office. It was the early days of mobile phones, and he didn't have a mobile phone, and I tracked him down at a bus stop in Austria as he was just about to go home from a guy who was fishing with him, a guy called Zayda, I can't remember, but one of his mates anyway, he was with him, and he couldn't speak English. He was translating. "Can you send the pictures in to us? Can we give you 200 quid for the photographs?" He sent them through. We was waiting by snail mail, and then they arrived, and we flicked through the pictures. There was about 10 or 15 of them. There was this 82 pound 3 ounce, whatever it was, world record fish, which was the predecessor. His predecessor, the one afterwards? Yeah, it is. The one from the Marcel Rouvière fish, which was the world record for years and years and years. It was never going to get broken, and this was the biggest carp in the world. This tiny little guy holding this massive fish. What a photograph!
That was the first ever carp fishing magazine that I got bought for me. Was that one with that fish on the
Let's
cover.
try and find that picture, Dean, and put that into for YouTube.
Well, I think that was second ever best-selling magazine ever of all time. Kev Clifford to tell you otherwise because you knew the figures, but I think the best ever selling Carp Talk was the issue 1 because we distributed more than any other magazine. It's about getting to know which shops you're going to sell it from, and I think that one was the second best selling one. And then the next best carp after that was the Wood Common, seeing Richie holding it, because we didn't know anything about it, didn't know anything about it. Where's this 48 pound common come from? What a fish, what a picture. And then there was the Scottish Loch with Ben Muir, which was another wow fish. More than the Sonning Eye fish, more than Mary, more than all of those amazingly iconic fish in English carp fishing.
Nice. Paul Bacon would like to ask, many anglers will say, I wish I could fish full time, when in reality, it's a very hard thing to do. My question to Crowy, being an angler that he is, what does he do to stay motivated to keep going year after year after year?
just be in love with carp fishing for the right reasons, which is just love fishing, just love being out there, love going carp fishing, love everything to do with it. Never put myself under any pressure, and just it's easy. It's easy to go fishing all the time. It really is. I've got a balance. I don't fish 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
How many nights on average a year would you say?
About 200, I reckon. 200 nights a year. I've got a balanced life. I've got a lovely wife. I've got kids. I've got a family. I've got a dog. Got a life outside of fishing. But when I'm not on the bank, I want to be on the bank. I just love it. I just love fishing. I go through the same things as everybody else does. Want to be fishing, want to be on the bank. And that motivation keeps you going, knowing that the next bite could be the one that you want.
Cool. Last question, mate. And this is come from a lot of people asking the same thing. What is the one venue, home or abroad, that's top of the list that still keeps the fire burning in a massive excitement?
I fished loads of waters, fished loads and loads and loads of lakes. I can tell you what my best ever carp is. My favouriteest ever carp is Salagoo fish last year, 75 and a quarter. To go to Salagoo and catch a dream carp from a dream venue, you've got those wild, public French lakes, which are just incredible, absolutely incredible. Far different, far contrast to the commercial lakes of France. And when you go onto somewhere like that and you manage to catch a special one, I can't tell you how long I've dreamt about wanting to try and catch a fish like that from one of those kind of waters. You catch a big one from England, you catch a big one from a commercial lake, you catch a big one from a syndicate lake, you catch a big one from a French commercial lake, but you've not got that trump, that one card that you want, that one special proper big one from a wild public lake. And having achieved that last year, I'd probably say, because of how special that fish is to me, Salagoo, I've only ever been there twice. I've only fished it twice. But because of the fish, the rural environment, the rawness of that lake, the wildness of that lake, I'd say that is probably my favourite lake, my favourite place to go fishing. And I can't. When I left that lake last year, on my way home, I had it on my last but one night. The music on the car, I turned it up full blast, and you get them bits that send the shivers down your spine. And I was driving home, the buzz that I got from it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. And that, if I could lock that buzz up and inject myself with it every day, I'll be like a junkie. I really would.
That's the one.
Keep going on it.
Amazing. Guys, before we wrap this podcast up, competition time now. So if you'd like to get your hands on £100 worth of Fox Terminal tackle, in the questions on the YouTube comments, we'd like to know what was the name of the company that Crowy and Hughesy started in the angling world. Get those in the comments below. That'll enter you. And as ever,
tackle or bait?
Both. We'll put both. I want the tackle company and the bait company. Yeah, nice one, Lou. Yeah. So, you might have to watch this again, wouldn't you? But answers below. And as ever, we'll be doing the draw for this over on the Syndicate. The link to join as a member is in the comments and the description of the video. So that's the competition wrapped up. Crowy, thank you so much for joining us, mate. It's been amazing.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it has been fantastic.
Will you come back and do another one? Because we've got so much more to talk about.
Loads of stuff we can talk about. Young Carp Championships with this fella. Loads of things that we've done in the fishing industry. So,
and we'll get Chili here as well with you next time. So we'll get Chili and Hughesy.
Chili and Hughesy.
Yeah, love it, mate. Of course I'll come back. I'm really honoured to come down here and chat to you guys.
Amazing.
So thank you for having me.
Mega.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Crowy. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
See you on the next one.